to know, don't be shy. Ask your question. He's here to entertain you. Your questions.
Hello again. So, as the good brother said, I'm a nutritionist by trade. So if you have any questions on nutrition, fitness, or otherwise, let me hear it. You want to talk about your own personal goals? You want to talk about eating preferences? You want to talk about stuff that you saw on social media? Let's talk that talk. I have time for you. So while I wait for questions to pour in, I just want to break up some myths that you may have heard that typically either are true, isn't true, or some version of the truth due to, yes, Victoria.
I had read that there's absolutely nothing healthy in dead flesh. Is that true?
Is there anything healthy in dead flesh? So you need to break that down into its most monomer state of the question. If it has living components, there is a benefit to it. The benefit comes down to is you as an individual, can your body in completion digest, metabolize, absorb, and etc. So if the question is it benefit in general? Yes. Is it benefit for all? No, because what's right for one may not be right for another. So great example. For most people, you might like broccoli, right? Me as an individual, I cannot consume it in large quantities. Why? My body does not have the capacity to digest the molecule raffinose that broccoli has.
So how did you know your body wasn't, how do you know when your body's not able to digest them?
Symptomatic responses, flu, GERS, PCOS, fibroids, diverticulitis, gastritis, fibroids, etc. The body will always tell you, but we as individuals typically do not listen to the body's cues. Oh, I always feel this way. That's not normal. That's you not listening to your body telling you, whatever you provided me, I am doing my best to digest to completion, but either the volume amount or the ingredients in which it was made from, I do not agree with. That is not a broad statement for all though. Yes, ma'am.
So since the advent of COVID, there's been a lot of discussions around, of course, vaccines. Personally, I try to do holistic things to build my immune system, to ward off getting COVID. What's your opinion on the best way to prevent yourself from getting COVID?
Okay, so what I will not do is I will not speak to the COVID as a science, nor the vaccine, because that is not my place. But I will tell you how the systematic approach the body utilizes to operate to fend off from foreign agents. So my approach on it is I am of the medical profession, but I also prefer the holistic means, but you should always do both in tandem, because unfortunately, holistically, it does not work fast enough. So while the body is trying to appropriate the holistic means, you should still know to some degree, put this amount of trust in modern medicine, but that is your discretion. Until the holistic can take away. In terms of how the body operates, in terms of being affected by COVID, first and foremost, you must understand that nothing can get through the skin unless broken directly into the bloodstream. The skin is your immune system, your first line of defense. It is so compact and so secure when it's not broken into the bloodstream that even at this very moment, you have a trillion staphylococcus viruses on your skin right now, and it's doing you no harm. You know why? Because your body has built up immunity over time from being exposed to so much foreign agents or pathogens. So, second line of defense in terms of immunity for your body to protect itself from any type of foreign agent is mucus. Mucus at its core is not bad for you. But if you yourself produce it excessively, it can become a hindrance to the bodily function. So you must reduce the systematic response of why the body is producing mucus. Don't attack mucus itself. That is the second line of defense to your immune system. Thirdly, if mucus's main job is to not only secrete from the lungs into the permeable membrane of the esophagus to slow down the rate of pathogens getting into the body, the third response is your white blood cells, which comes in many forms, but the main two are your innate and innate, which comes in neutrophil and macrophage. Neutrophil is the white blood cells that travel in abundance throughout the body, trying to find pathogens that jump on it, and they beat it down. but unfortunately they're not strong enough to kill a virus or prevent a virus from moving at whatever pace it's moving at. It has to wait for macrophage. So using layman's terms, macrophage is the white blood cell or the cops of the body. Very slow, but very strong. Macrophage's job is to bust open that pathogen and then wear its carcass like a badge of honor, trying to find other pathogens and then jump on the next. And if macrophage can't do its job, then the body calls in the T cells. The T cells comes in 7 different forms, but only 3 really do any work. The naive B cell, the helper cell, and then the natural killer cell. The helper cell is typically the general of the T cells. Its job is to gather information, reconstruct, and then put it back out into the environment so it can be exposed and eventually become antibody. The naive B cell is what becomes antibody. Only if it can unlock the locking key of that pathogen, take it back to the helper cell so it can be decoded and then supercharged. Your naive B cell, if never exposed to the pathogen, your body never creates antibody. That's complete across the board. You want to be exposed to the degree to where the body can figure out its structuring and then create antibody, which then over time becomes humoral vaccination. The natural killer cell is the cell that basically does nuclear warfare. If the body if the natural killer cell can't handle it, it's going to call in the big guns, which is your cytokine storm, where the body attacks itself, good or bad. So those are the responses the body takes in terms of how it will appropriate with any virus that's been affecting the body. But in terms of vaccination, the body has to go through those channels to build up its own immunity from whole. Now, from a nutritional standpoint, if you yourself do not provide it with a quantified manner of nutritional value to create components to become the weapons body needs to trigger immunity, it's just not going to work. So a great example, we as people of color or black people in general, we require more vitamin D than any other ethnicity because our melanin blocks us from absorbing a quantified amount. So we must be in the sun longer than most, but unfortunately, due to the environment of the East Coast, we get the least amount of vitamin D absorption as black people. So we are required to get the necessary amount from your foods, mostly whole foods, but unfortunately, we as a people, we don't eat enough vegetables. We don't. You say you don't, because statistically, we all have some level of vitamin D deficiency. So what is vitamin D? Vitamin D is actually a chemical known as ultraviolet irradiation that we synthesize and metabolize to vitamin D from the sun. Vitamin D's main job is to turn on other micronutrient vitamins in the body, specifically calcium. If calcium is always in a dormant state, you can't turn on vitamin C. And vitamin C can't be operated, you can't flare off the bullets in your gun for your immune system. Yes?
Vegetables. Organic versus regular vegetables. Like you said, we don't eat enough vegetables. I'm at the store and I'm concerned about the vegetables that I do buy because organic obviously is extremely expensive. So what is your opinion on organic versus regular vegetables?
So I'm giving you my opinion as well as the scientific means of why it's such. So at the most basic level of our agriculture, the food is only as nutritionally dense as its soil. America has the worst soil on this planet. If you go to the Asian continent, all the agriculture is on the far side of the continent, and all the residential and industrial is on top of each other. But here in America, we have our industrial on top of our agriculture, tainting the soil. Your food that grows on the earth is only as beneficial as the soil itself. We ain't got that. So even when you deem it organic, which is nothing more than a marketing term, because by definition, from the USDA and the FDA, it just means that it was not utilized with pesticides. Unfortunately, how do you administer pesticides? It's airborne. So you're telling me the air's not carrying your pesticides along the way to your organic side? I don't want to hear that. So it's more so than a marketing term, but for peace of mind. If you feel as though you must spend $3 more for the same item, you do what you will for your own livelihood.
Or move to China or Paterson.
Either one. But unfortunately, America, 97% of our agriculture is not from here. It's from South America, Canada, Mexico, and Australia. Our meats, 80% comes from those countries and continents. Our vegetables, 97% from those countries and continents. The only thing America produces is potatoes and eggs. Absolutely.
And brother, just a suggestion, you might want to give the mic to the person that's asking the question so everybody can
Yes,
hear.
ma'am.
Rodney, the amount of chemicals that are going in our food are alarming. Contaminants, processing, additives, and preservatives, that's all chemical.
That's it.
How do you undo? Because these chemicals over a time are gonna cause some serious problems in our body. That's why they give it to you in small quantities. Right now, there are 3,000 chemicals that are allowed in our food.
That's true.
What effects, or what can you do to undo these chemicals going in our body?
So, again, once again, answer that as the most basic form of understanding when it comes to toxins and how the body processes it, and what toxins are to the body. First and foremost, dosage depicts toxicity, not the chemical itself. Everything that I am is a chemical. My lymphatic system, my kidney, my circulatory system, my liver, etc., can process most chemicals that are natural to the earth up to a specific dosage. Great example, cyanide. Cyanide is a very harmful chemical. If it inhaled, not even ingested, inhaled. But guess what? Most foods naturally produce cyanide, like beans, in very large quantity at that. But guess what? It would take 100 million micrograms for it to become a dosage of toxicity. So even though the name sounds scary, the dosage depicts the toxicity. And in most cases, at its most basic level, the human body, when it's treated well, can deal with it. Now, in terms of how it is utilized in food, for the most part, a lot of those chemicals are utilized for not only the production and preserving of food. Unfortunately, we can do nothing about that. Unless you yourself are the manufacturer, the distributor, the retailer, and etc., you must take things in micro dosages that benefit you as an individual. Because again, the amount I consume may not be the amount she can consume. Her smaller amount consumption may cause ailment immediately, whereas my large amount may take me 10 years to feel the effect. Because my body is in such a condition for it, because I feed it the necessities to create the combative components for it to deal with it. And the only way to figure that out is people, go get your physicals, because we as a culture have an inherent habit of being scared of going to be told the unforeseen. Go hear it anyway and deal with it after the fact. Because while you thinking you may have it, and you may do have it, but you could have done something preventative way back when, and you decided not to go treat yourself because of the knowing of it, you've done harm that you could prevent it. Go get those physicals, and when you go get those physicals, tell your doctor you want a complete blood panel. Don't say, I need to go check this out. Nah. Tell them I need a complete blood panel. And when you get that blood panel, you need to force them to explain to you what this, that, and the third means in completion. And if they don't, go get you another doctor, another physician. Any other questions? Good brother.
What are some chemicals that we should avoid back in milk or whatever product that we purchase? What are some chemicals that we should avoid?
So, truthfully, I cannot tell you in the simplest of terms, because those words are too big for me to remember. Now, when I see them, I know them. When I see them, I know the effects of them based on scientific analysis, and not what I saw on TikTok. So it's a great example. One may be, what was the recent one I saw on social media? So many of the names are so huge. Corn syrup. Again, that's a good one. So corn syrup is a synthesized version of a sugar, of a dextrose. So your oses are sugars, right? And it comes in about 700 flavors. Corn syrup is probably the least nutritional value one of them all. So ultimately, even when you deem it a issue, it still comes back to how does my body as an individual process it to completion. Great example, using the 4 types of sugars other than corn syrup as an example. You have glucose, you got sucrose, you got lactose, you got fructose. All of those sugars must be broken back down into glucose, the monomer state of sugar. And if the body can't break it down into glucose, the body has no benefit from it. Which means the body can't utilize it, which means the body will eventually try to reject it And if it can't excrete it, your liver, your kidneys must process it out through whatever means they can. And if you can't excrete it, it's going to turn into plaque and bacteria, and maybe some other cancerous opportunities. But the effects of cancer as an individual, there is no immediate harm unless your body cannot process and excrete it. And that's with most foods. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question for you. Diabetes has been one of the biggest things that was going on. I mean, when I was growing up, I never heard of diabetes. But in fact, none of my elders, my family, had diabetes. But now, not only is there diabetes, there's kidney failure. So it seems like that is systematically set up for our kidneys to fail, and how they're not informing us to prevent our kidneys from failing. So they get us caught up in a kidney system called dialysis, and where they so-called cleansing your blood, but at the same time depleting your life. So my question is, how do we formulate a team that we can go into reversing the kidney failures and make that prominent in our communities so that we don't be the victims of diabetes and kidney failure?
That's a really good question. But before I get to that, I can't answer that though, Kyle. But before I get to that, I'd like to introduce my mother, who was the excellence of a woman who was my mother. She's a 25-year veteran registered nurse. She's also the owner of Addison's Unique Curves down here at 301 Main Street in Center City Mall. Services that she offers is vitamin IV infusions, non-invasive BBLs, as well as post-op care services for those who have surgery but don't want to go back to whatever means they don't treated or untreated. So, welcome. So, I'm sorry, Session, my Session, who's, my bad Session. But to the young lady's point about diabetes first. So, what is diabetes at its root sense? Diabetes is not the result of sugar. Diabetes is not the result of too many carbohydrates. Diabetes is not the result of genetics. Diabetes, its root cause, is at the level of the body not being able to synthesize excess glucose. The excess glucose attacks the liver. The liver becomes a fatty liver, which can make the body have an unstable blood sugar level. So you'll hear terms such as, oh, my A1Cs are high, or etc., right? Your A1C is the precursor to prediabetes. It does not mean that you're diabetic. So typically, your A1C should be about a 5.4 to a 5.6. Anything above that, your doctor would give you pre-diabetic, right? But that's not necessarily true, because the number does not depict the state. The symptoms that come with the state depicts the issue. So if you find yourself waking up and you are numb, blurry-eyed, your blood sugar is constantly above 100, then you may be pre-diabetic to diabetic. But having high A1Cs does not depict that. So in our culture, we say sugars, right? Sugar does not cause diabetes. Everything that you consume that is digestible turns to sugar. Proteins, carbs, and fats. It's just that the body has an easier ability to convert carbohydrates into glucose, which is the most simplest form of sugar the body can utilize. What happens is, if you as an individual who may have a medical predisposition that you didn't know about, and did know about it but did nothing about it, if the body cannot process all the glucose in the bloodstream, it must try to store it into the vesicles of the cells. And if your cells get filled up with the vesicles, if the vesicles get filled up, which is what is called glycogen, it must then put the extra sugar somewhere else. It starts floating around inside of the liver, which basically clogs the film or the screen window of the liver, causing fatty liver. Now your body can't excrete any excess waste or byproduct due to the film being so dirty, right? The liver is the dumpster of your body. The liver is the dumpster of your body. If you can't excrete the excess waste, it must now float around into the circulatory system, which can cause complications like erosion of the artery, etc. But it's not sugar specifically. Contributor maybe, not cause. Big difference. So in terms of how it affects your kidneys, when the excessive fluids and the lack of blood flow and the blood volume reduces and all the excess glucose and high blood sugars start to thin out the wall of the artery, making little micro pocket holes, all the excess fluid seeps out, causing dehydration and other issues at the kidneys. When your kidneys can't function and your KTB levels drop and your albumin levels go up and the bun goes down, your kidney functions diminish, your body can't make new urine, you can't excrete it, then you have to go on, you go through the 7 stages of ED or end-stage renal disease, which eventually leads to dialysis. So dialysis is the circulation of old blood, taking it out of the body, cleaning it, and putting it back in. Now, to the system that the lady mentioned of, I can't speak to that because I don't know it to be 100% true, but there is some truth to it because it typically targets urban areas like ours. And they put all of these, the beta dialysis, typically in the borders of in urban communities. But I can't speak to that from a systematic approach. Any other questions?
So I understand that the liver apparently is a very strong organ.
The most versatile organ there is.
Here's my question. For a person who may have, regarding the liver, for a person who has cancer in their liver, so I know you say you're not a doctor, but what can they do to keep that organ strong to withstand chemo so that after chemo, maybe the liver will go ahead and rebuild and restore itself? What can this person be doing?
So the liver is the most durable organ we have. It can function at 100%, which is 1% capacity. The liver will fight to function at 100%, which is 1% capacity. It is very rejuvenative. If you yourself do right by the body, and you yourself must feed the body the most quantified measure of nutritional value that it's asking for. But if you don't know what that is, you don't know what to give yourself. So once again, it will behoove you to go to your physician, get a full blood panel, and then start there. Upon what your blood panel tells you are deficient in respect to how the liver operates, you will then surplus the nutritional value from whole foods to give your body the needed components to do so. So one of the best ways to reduce the harm to the liver is to not only stay hydrated, but to reduce the functions that you're providing that's causing the harm in the first place. And in most cases, what you deem healthy is actually doing more harm to you, and you just don't know because you don't know how to target symptoms. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. So the question was, is milk thistle, dandelion, and lemon pills? So dandelion is a very powerful root. I myself use it when I'm bodybuilding for my competitions. It is a natural, what's the word? Diuretic. It is a natural diuretic, a great means of cleansing superficially without causing any excessive harm to the organ itself. Whereas milk thistle is a great replenisher of hormonal response, especially for women who are who isn't producing like estrogen well enough or enough thyroid hormone. Milk thistle is a great additional tool to add for thyroid and estrogen health, as well as kidney health.
And in what form would you take that? I mean, you would just go to the health food store and get some milk thistle and dandelion and brew it as a tea, or do you ingest it?
That's definitely my preferred way. Do it as a tea. or just consume it as a whole, because the bulk of the nutritional value is in the skin. And the skin holds so much potency, we tend to either excrete it, eat the meat, or the chlorophyll, or the water, but don't get the bulk of the nutritional value. So, great example, people who juice. Juice is not all that beneficial, because you're excreting the pulp, the fiber, the membrane, etc., and discarding it. All you're getting is the water and the chlorophyll. So you're getting a less nutritional value than eating it whole. You have to do a lot more of this to get the actual benefit than just eating it whole. It's a great, smooth beverage, but it does not yield nutritional value as great as you think it does.
Caesars. Like, what can you do with Caesars?
Caesars?
Like if someone has Caesars.
Oh, seizure.
Yeah.
So seizure. So at the root, seizures is the inability to get enough oxygen to the brain, which causes synaptic disturbances at the nervous system. So that typically yields, it starts from dehydration. So for the most part, people say dehydration is the result of not getting enough water, right? Wrong. Dehydration starts at not being able to absorb enough electrolytes. Why? Your electrolytes pulls water into living tissue. If I can never get enough water into my living tissue, not necessarily drink it, I will never get hydrated. My body will have deficiencies at magnesium, potassium, sodium, folic acid, and etc. But more specifically, sodium, potassium, magnesium. Magnesium is the mineral that is responsible for reducing disturbances at the nervous system. So if you got headaches or migraines, which are premature forms of seizures, it yields first from being dehydrated. You gotta get your body hydrated by surplusing your electrolyte before anything else. Now, in terms of for medical reasons, again, I can't speak to that. Go talk to your physician.
I have a question. Water, right?
Yes.
People always say you need to drink a lot of water.
Okay.
But I notice when I drink a lot of water, I'm in bathroom every 15
And
minutes.
that's dehydration.
But if I get my water from my fruit, pineapple, or oranges, I'm not going there.
Electrolytes.
So it's actually better.
Excessive peeing is dehydration. Heart attack starts at dehydration. Seizures and strokes start at dehydration because the body is not receiving and absorbing the electrolytes at the quantified manner it needs to sustain bodily function.
So it's not just drinking straight water.
It is not. Water's job is only to transport blood. Water is a purity. It has no real benefit other than to transport blood. Blood carries your what? Your nutrients. If blood can't get absorbed into the living tissue, you will never be able to benefit from the nutrients. Water's job is to push. Now, how much water should you consume? That's based on two factors: body mass and activity. Someone who's 120 pounds should not be consuming that water someone who's 300 pounds. Why? They don't have the exact body mass to store the water if they are hydrated. But someone who's 200 pounds has a lot more blood volume and a lot more body mass to push blood through the vessels to cause hydration. So how much water is based on body weight times activity? Because that he who is more active excretes more bodily water must put even more back. So in most cases, I drink about 3 gallons of water a day. And I'm still thirsty.
But why do you drink so much water if it really has no nutritional value?
The activity is so high that I'm excreting so much beneficial nutrients. I gotta put it back. If not, crampy, rainfall, crampy stomach, etc.
Let me ask you about sea moss. I've heard sea moss has 92 minerals that your body carries, so it's a good thing. I don't know.
So sea moss, by definition, and science does show, it does carry 90-ish% of all minerals you can find naturally in nature, right? That's not the problem, because nutritional value is based on caloric density. Me eating sea moss does not provide me all 92 minerals. It does not, because it's about the serving size and the caloric density. For example, if you were to Google caloric density of sea moss, a serving is typically what? A teaspoon, right? A teaspoon yields 1 calorie. how much nutrient are you getting into a calorie? None. So when they say, oh, it's a teaspoon, it's doing you next to no good. But in conjunction with a better lifestyle, you may think it's that, but you just have better habits. Because nutritional density is based on caloric density. Proteins, carbs, fats, micro. The higher the calorie, the higher nutritional value. But using it in conjunction with others to contribute to better sense of health. But not by itself. Not by itself.
So, brother, you said if you drink a lot of water, I'm just trying to make sure I understood what you said.